Hi, and welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about storing and organizing tools. Here we're looking at my file drawer. I have this little cabinet that I bought from Home Depot. I wanted something to put my polishing unit on, and you can see it's still kind of a mess, but I needed something to put the polishing unit on, and this was fabulous. It had the pegboard backing so that I was able to organize some of my tools and hang them up here. And then you can see, like I said, I work a little bit messy, so things are just kind of cluttered around on the top, but hey, I know where everything is. One of the things I do keep very organized, or at least I try to, are my files. And I do this so that they don't rub up on each other and get destroyed or anything like that, because some of them are actually quite nice files. You'll see that I've got some that have a lot of rust on those. Those files actually I inherited just recently. I was very fortunate. Somebody called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, my dad used to make jewelry. Do you want his tools?" Sure, why not? She brought over 6 boxes of tools. It was heaven. But I do keep my files at least organized in this manner. I've just used a sticky back thing that you can just buy in the rolls at, I don't know, I think you can even get it at Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond. They're just the sticky drawer liners that kind of pad everything. Other things that you'll find in my studio are a lot of baby formula containers. Those have been quite readily available to me in the past couple of years, including right now. So I use these all the time to store all sorts of different things. This is just one of those little cups that you buy for the desk, something like store your pencils and whatnot in. So I have all my different cross-locking tweezers, my soldering picks. Sometimes I have my paintbrushes for the flux and things like that in here as well. And here's another example of the baby formulas containers. This one has a whole bunch of wax carving tools and riffler files, hemostats, and then a bunch of my stone setting tools as well. So these little formula cans come in very, very, very handy when you're trying to store tools in your studio. Now, because I teach classes, I have a gazillion pairs of pliers. Because of course I wanted to try them all out, and that way I could suggest to my students which ones are good, which ones are bad, and then also allow them to try various pairs to make up their own mind. So I've had to come up with many different ways of storing my pliers. The very first plier rack I ever had was this, and it was this fabulous little find. I think I paid maybe $5 for this, and it's just a letter sorter or a letter holder. I have yet to find it again. I believe I bought this on clearance, maybe at Walmart or something like that. This one has been good, however it's kind of difficult if you try to use all 3 layers, because you'll see that the pliers kind of run into each other a little bit there. They also have a hard time with this type of a thing because a lot of times they'll fall over just like so. So that's kind of annoying because they're constantly falling forward and then falling off or falling into the other pliers in there. Another one that I bought from one of my suppliers to kind of see if I liked this, it holds 6 pairs, and I do like it. It's alright, and it's probably maybe $5. So that's another option. It's kind of nice because it holds everything up nice and straight. I do find that I cannot use my really short-handled pliers, so anything that's got like just a 4-inch plier or something like that might have a little bit of a difficult time just because they do spread open here. Now another thing that I do have, and this is wonderful, my father-in-law, who is mainly the one that is responsible for my fabulous studio, we went out to Idaho one year for Christmas where they live, and he has all of these different woodworking tools, and I told him that my wish for Christmas was a stand to hold all of my pliers. And for a while it did hold all of my pliers, but no longer, as you can see. And I actually have 3 more plier racks out in the other room that are full as well, though they're not quite this big. Things that I really like about this, one is that it does hold everything. I also have a lot of space down here, and except for this video, it usually holds quite a bit of other things as well. So that is kind of nice. Things that I wish that we had considered and I just didn't know at the time. The dowel that we've used here is kind of thick, and it makes it so that the pliers do not hold on here very well. We did put a little brace back here along the back, however we put it down too far. If I were to do this again, I believe even this dowel would work just fine if I were to take this part back here, this little brace, and move it up even just maybe even half an inch. But if I moved it up maybe an inch or so, then it would be a lot better, because now what happens is I'll put a pair of pliers on here and they'll fall over like so. And so I'm always going in and trying to retrieve the pliers because they've all fallen over, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt because they never want to stay up straight. Other little finds that I have to hold pliers as well. There's this little rack. I believe it probably at one point in time had little jars or maybe alcohol or something like that in there. I'm not quite sure. I found it at a friend's house. She had a couple of them and gave them to me. So I've put them on this little rack. Problems with this one is particularly like this little pair of pliers, you can kind of see there, they have the springs on them. Well, what happens is they open up and then they end up getting caught. So when you try to pull the pliers up, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but you know, the spring gets caught right there on that little wire, so then you have to actually come in and open the pliers and work them out of there. So that's kind of annoying on that particular rack, but it does hold my stuff again, kind of nice. The next one that I have, and this is one that I buy through my suppliers, and it's maybe like $6, and it's kind of nice if you only have just a few pairs of pliers. I'm to the point where, like I said in the other room where I teach some of my wire classes, I have like 3 of these. And on one I have my round nose, the next one has my chain nose and my flat nose, whatever, and my cutters. But this is kind of a nice little tool. Again, it's the same concept as the one that my father-in-law built, just uses different dowels. It'd be simple enough to build, but I don't know that I could build it for $6. I mean, I guess you could, just using cheap materials and whatnot. But that's how I store all of my pliers. This filing cabinet stand I've shown before in a Tool Time Tuesday, but not in the video form. This was a fabulous little find. I think I paid maybe $20-30 for it over at Target. And it's just a little rolling filing cabinet. It's got the drawer for your files, plus then it has another little drawer for things like pencils and stuff like that. But this is how I store and organize all of my wire. I'm able to come in and easily find what gauge I'm looking for, whether it's looking for a round wire, fine wire, half round, square, gold, gallery wire, anything like that. And with the price of silver and metals right now, I may just turn this whole thing in and just get the money. Again, I've done a Tool Time Tuesday post on this before where I've shown how I have stored all of my hammers. And at this point I have so many hammers, and hopefully going to be getting more soon, that I actually am out of pegs. So I've had to double up some of my hammers, and they're not too happy about that. They like to have their own pegs. But I just went through and made sure that everything lined up kind of nice. They didn't hit the other hammer heads, they didn't hit the other handles, and everything just is very, very simple to find. I just found, or went over to the store and bought pre-primed pegboard, painted it black, and because I like my studio to look pretty, I put a little frame on it and painted it with silver paint. You may recall about a year ago, probably just a little more than a year now, I was fortunate enough to buy an enameling studio from the daughter of a lady who had passed away. And luckily, all of these different copper shapes were already in these little drawers. I have hundreds and hundreds of copper shapes for enameling. And we went through, and as we counted and sorted, I went through and I just labeled on the front of each of the drawers what is in the drawers, because each of them, they're actually fairly long. I'll pull one open here. And it's got a couple of different sections in it. So in this particular case, I've got bracelet links that are 7/8 of an inch, and I've drawn pictures of the different types of links that are in this drawer. And I've done that for quite a few of the drawers that are on, or that are in these cabinets here. It makes it easy for me to be able to get down and find what I'm looking for a little quicker than pulling open every little drawer. Although sometimes I still have to do that too. Alright, the last thing I'm going to show you today for our Tool Time Tuesday, and we'll wrap it up tonight, is my stamp stand. I have a lot of different custom stamps, or not even the custom stamps, but the design stamps, and you can see I've got things like my center punches that I use in some of my different work, riveting, spreaders, tube setting things. And again, I wanted something that was inexpensive. I have drill bits, and I had plywood left over from when I framed my studio in. So I just went through and just drilled a whole bunch of holes in here, and probably went down maybe 3/4 of the way through this wood. And that's how I've got my plier stand, or my stamp stand rather.